Because obviously the three of us are going to want to go see it.
Yeah.
I don't know who else would want to see it. I mean, Dad would. But
I was
do we get Dad on the podcast?
That's exactly what I was thinking. How great would it be to have Dad on for? I mean, it would make sense. It's one of his favorite books. It's like,
yeah.
I mean, it's either that or when we do Ridley Scott and do the original Blade Runner. That would be the only other time I'd be like, Dad needs to be on this.
Yeah.
But like, it would be Dad would probably have a max of like 20 words the whole pod, and then that would be it. He wouldn't talk most of the time, probably.
No. Welcome back to Screen Time. I'm your host, Josh, and I have with me just one co-host today, Jared.
Solo dolo today.
Yeah.
What's up?
Well, solo you, but
yeah,
dual,
yeah,
dual people here.
Solo co-host. There we go.
Co-host.
Yeah.
Yeah. So today we are talking about Baby Driver. This is another Edgar Wright masterpiece. Should I say that already?
Sure. Go ahead and start your feelings on the film.
Yeah. So this was came out in 2017. It's rated R. An hour and 53 minutes. Got our little synopsis. After being concerned. After being coerced into working for a crime boss, a young getaway driver finds himself taking part in a heist doomed to fail. Pretty
vague.
Yeah, pretty big.
That one is, yeah.
So,
just like different from the last one. The last one, after hearing the synopsis, I'm like, oh, this actually, you can understand the movie a little bit more after reading the synopsis. But this one, yeah,
it's pretty basic.
Yeah.
It's directed by Edgar Wright.
Second to last, we got one more.
Written by Edgar Wright.
I saw that in the opening.
Solo, yeah. So, didn't have his buddy help him on this one.
This is the first one that he wrote all himself?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And then the cinematographer is Bill Pope again.
Mm-hmm. Is this his last one? Did he do the last
I
name
don't know.
solo?
I didn't look ahead.
Oh, I guess we'll see.
But this is the third one in a row for them teaming up. This was $34 million for the budget for the production, which is, seemed pretty reasonable for the amount of action and scenes.
And the actors, yeah. What was the last two? Because we were talking about Scott Pilgrim was high, but then it went back down for World's End. Budget-wise,
the World's End was $20 million.
Okay, yeah.
Scott Pilgrim was
like 50.
60.
Oh, 60, yeah.
Yeah. So
wow, this is, you said 30 million for this one?
34, yeah.
34. That is impressive.
Yeah, I think so.
That's very impressive
for the finished product.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. Now it probably helps that they really, they shot it in one area. Obviously there's more, but everything.
Yeah,
and they used a lot of repeat locations.
Yeah, but the amount of stuff they have to do in this is
and the action and
it can't be cheap.
No.
So that's why, even if you're all in one area for pretty much the whole movie.
Yeah, which is they filmed in Atlanta.
Okay.
Which it is supposed to. I mean, they.
Yeah, I saw Georgia on the license plates.
Yeah, and they even make a comment about it being Atlanta, at some point.
It actually is Atlanta. Okay, I don't remember that.
So it's supposed to be Atlanta in the movie, but then that's also where they filmed it. So.
Okay, nice.
Got another stacked cast.
Oh yeah.
We've got Ansel Elgort. I don't know how you say his name.
Yeah, I guess.
Last name.
Ansel Elgort, yeah.
John Berthal, John Hamm, Aiza Gonzalez, Micah Howard, Lily James, Morgan Brown, Kevin Spacey, and Jamie Foxx.
Mm-hmm. Man, this no, I mean it doesn't top Scott Pilgrim for the amount of people they got, but it's still impressive.
But it does have a little bit more established. Because Scott Pilgrim, most of the cast were not as big, not as well known when they were in Scott Pilgrim, but then they all blew up after. Mm-hmm. Where this, you've got some people that are already pretty well known.
Yeah.
That in some of these roles. So
yes.
Yeah. All right. So overall thoughts. What's your just?
You want me to go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Go first.
Go ahead.
Well, you already started a little bit, so I was saying, just go with it. But
I can go. I mean, I think.
No, I can go. Yeah. This is from the last movie. This is such a big level up for Edgar Wright, I would say. And this is how many years? 4? Yeah. And even from, I would say even from Scott Pilgrim as well, which would have been then 7 years before this. Mm-hmm. This is very much at the top. I mean, I love this the first time I watched this movie, but it's very high up. I can't really say if Scott Pilgrim or this is number one of all of his, but this movie's great. I don't think there's any... It just goes the whole way. Like, I don't think there's really any... There's a couple scenes where they bring it down a little bit, but it's never enough to where like, all right, where's all the, fast-paced or all the action again? They do that really well. Especially for... I didn't realize the movie was that long. So, obviously, paced really well, too. Mm-hmm. All the cast is so good in this. Some of these... shots they did with the cars in particular, I'm like amazed how they even did them. And it's just I agree, I would say it is a masterpiece for Edgar Wright.
Yeah. I think this one is my favorite of his movies. Like I do like Scott Pilgrim a lot too, but I think this one has just another level of polish. Like,
definitely,
there's I think like we talked about, I think this is a movie that he had been waiting to make for decades. So like,
where's the first time we noticed it? Was it Hot Fuzz? I think, where we noticed a little bit of
well, there's even like
probably even Shaun of the Dead.
Shaun of the Dead. There's a little bit, but and he did, like, I mean, there was we'll get into it. I was reading up a few things, and
okay,
so we'll get into like spoiler stuff. But yeah, he I mean, there was stuff he did years ahead before on the plan for this, or like, because he just had this in his head, something he wanted to make eventually. So yeah, he's but
so yeah, even during Shaun of the Dead, like, he was planning stuff then, or how far did he go back?
I don't know how far back specifically, but I know, with I know for the song and the oneer in the beginning, like right after the first action scene, like that song, he had people like worked with the composer and even like it's like a DJ mixer to kind of make that song, like years before the movie, because he already knew and had in his head of like what he wanted.
That whole scene, that's awesome. We're gonna talk about that scene.
Yeah. But like, that's just an example of, and it's interesting because I think this is kind of like, we were talking about this with Denis Villeneuve too, where like he kind of always wanted to do Blade Runner. And then we saw like hints of those, like even his early, the first film.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah. He had some so it's like you have these things that inspire you.
And you test them out a little bit.
And you almost, it's almost, you can't help yourself to like
put a little bit of it in.
Sprinkle it in. And I think, Danny was doing that leading up to in some of his films. And you saw this with Edgar Wright too, kind of this was his baby.
Yeah,
it was. No pun intended.
Yeah.
And he had this in his head for probably 20 years, I don't know, 15, 20 years, and got it on paper. It took time. And then it got to the point where like he had the clout, the whatever all the things he needed in place, that the timing was right. And then he was able to make it.
Well, and it shows, well, I mean, even with Scott Pilgrim, just the amount of people that he got for that. But this especially, it shows like who he got in this movie, like,
yes,
he's obviously a big deal at that point where he got all of them. Now, obviously, a lot has to do with the casting director too, but I feel like a lot of time, at least from what I've seen and heard from actors, there usually is at some point they're like, oh, I want to work with this director, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like that goes into it a lot. Yeah.
You get a reputation.
Yeah.
And then, people want to work with you or have at least seen your films and they're like, oh yeah, he does something different. And so you want to be on the film.
I think like number one for that, it seems to me is Fincher. Like, because throughout all of this isn't a Fincher podcast, but I was thinking about, just because his new movie just came out.
Yeah.
So I've been thinking about him a lot in his whole filmography, and it seemed like as he went, there's just people, like, it seemed like almost the actors went to him and instead of like him going to the actors. And maybe it was that same way with this movie.
Maybe.
Like, it seemed like some of them. Now, I don't know if that's the case, but it seemed like he is pretty big at this point, that, like you said, he had a lot of clout to get all of them.
All right. Well, I want to get into some spoilers. Let's break it down. So let's talk about overall plot and story and characters first. What's some of your
I don't know where to
things?
start.
Yeah, it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
I do. Okay, so I'll start with, I do think my favorite of the car scenes was the first one.
Yes.
I feel like, not that the other ones are not good,
Right.
but that first car chase scene is just so good.
I have a note about that. Basically, the whole opening scene is just like insanely good.
Yeah.
From start to finish, everything about it. Like, it's probably his strongest and, like the word you use, polished, like, opening scene of any of his movies, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In every way. And then, like, with the music and mixing and all that, which we'll get into a lot too, because that's a big part of this movie. It's like perfect in the intro, and specifically the song too, which I'm going to talk about, because I have it was a song that I've used a lot recently for a student of mine, actually. So
Okay. Yeah. Well, and then also, Mitch, I always like when they do this with like The Matrix, and I always like when they play with the opening fanfare and they kind of integrate it into the movie almost, right? In The Matrix, they like got all green and like does the digital like sound. This, they did like the like fanfare turned into like the ringing in his ear.
Yes.
And I was like, that's cool.
Yep. And then obviously they did with Scott Pilgrim with the 8-bit version.
Yeah. But so I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, that action scene's,
I think my favorite. Well, the whole thing is is just like perfect in every way. And what's crazy is, which we'll also talk about later, is immediately the next scene is the other scene we're talking about.
Yes.
So it's like back to back. This opening is just like,
you're like 15, 20 minutes into the movie and you're just like,
but like, you'd think then of like, if you did that all at the beginning, you're like, is the end not going to be as strong? But I think still through the whole way, it's still, he didn't just use it all up at the beginning and then it kind of went down. Like it's strong the whole way through.
For sure. But like, I do think like, it's not that it does much of it. It doesn't dip that much, but I think it is like a little bit of a dip, because I think
it is. I think it's intentional.
Those two scenes are like just like that. The opening car chase scene is, I think, the best, and then that one take of him going to get coffee is just like so slick and so good. I do just want to.
Yeah.
I think. Well, I guess we'll talk about that when I get to like more of the cinematography. But
okay.
Yeah. So the one take is where the song. So that song.
Yep.
So then I was reading about a little bit about they had to find, because they basically because of all the different interactions and things that happen with the sound effects and all those things timed in the song, they had to like reverse engineer it to where
you would have to
like
to make it all match up.
Yeah. So they had to find where he could leave and how far he could get to then actually build a coffee shop, because that coffee shop's not a real coffee shop. They had to
built that.
They had to put a coffee shop where there was, I think it was like a pizza place or something.
All right.
So they built the coffee shop.
So the pizza place that's later in the movie?
I don't know.
Because they filmed that. Actually, it kind of looks. I wonder if that was the same.
It might have been.
I don't know.
But yeah. So they had to figure out how it would time. But then the problem was, then the later part of the song is shorter. So then you have to hurry back. So that's why they introduced the cop. They like.
Oh, they had to figure out a way to do it.
It was like, that's the motivation for him to like start moving faster.
Yeah.
So that he can get back faster.
Okay.
Like it was.
I mean,
the
that's
things you
perfect.
think about.
Yeah.
I mean, but it seems so intentional when you're watching it.
It does.
Like you don't think like, oh, the cop wasn't really planned to be there, and then we were like, how are we going to get him to move faster? And then we're like, oh, let's put a cop here.
But what's crazy is, like, think about everything that has to go into the scenes, all the action scenes with all the driving, and you think that has to be the scenes that probably took the longest or were most involved. But I imagine maybe it's the second scene though, probably even topped it with the amount of planning and execution.
Yeah, maybe I don't know, but
because that whole thing, I imagine.
I think
like there's no way they nailed it one time. Like they would have to do that whole.
No, it was like
sequence.
20 some takes.
Okay, yeah. See,
because I remember them. It was like 25, 28 takes.
Yeah,
but take 21 was the one they used in the movie. I remember that.
So they still went a long ways in before they got the one that they needed.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I knew, and then I think they rehearsed like with the camera, the steady cam operator and like the key actors. They rehearsed for like 2 days before they even like the actual filming day. But
well, one of the coolest things also, which is crazy because I must have not caught that part first time watching this movie, which I guess I probably saw it shortly after it came out, so it probably was still in 2017. But Claudia's the one that pointed out to me the actual, graffiti or lyrics that are timed with it, which is a whole other thing that they added to this, where you talk about timing wise, where they had to line all that up too. But it's so cool how they implement all that too.
Those are CGI.
All of it?
The graffiti, yeah.
The graffiti, okay. Because even like
graffiti was added in post.
Okay, well then that makes it easier, I guess.
Yeah, it does make it a little easier.
But
you still gotta have a spot to put it. But yeah.
Yeah, in the it's on like a sign or other stuff. So it always is when they put it in, because
they said
it looked pretty
the article
real.
I was reading, yeah.
Okay.
Because it was an interview with him, and he was talking about the reason he had the idea of doing it, but then
was it not till afterwards?
No, they couldn't do it in some of the spots because it's like one of the things, he walks past like a courthouse, and they couldn't do anything, and so then he had, I forget now in the article what he referenced some other movie that did all this like added all this like graffiti to subway cars or something in post, and he was like, oh, and it looked real, so then he was like, oh, maybe we can do it that way, and that's what they ended up doing.
Awesome. Well, yeah, that was done very well then, because it's not only graffiti, it's on a sign, it's on a like a wooden post.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, there's a couple other different surfaces too, which like it looked pretty real. I thought they would have had to at least some of them put them, actually design it for real.
Maybe a few they were, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe they got a few of them in, yeah. But that's awesome. And I think, so speaking of CGI then, and I don't know who all he has worked with over the years with like visual effects, but it seems like they do it very well in all of them. Because even the one thing we point out, so at the very beginning movie, Shaun of the Dead, we talked about the the zombie in the backyard and how good that looked, and then even in Hot Fuzz, how good that was it Hot Fuzz? Yeah, with it like coming out of his mouth.
Yes.
And like how real that looked too.
The practical, whatever. That was probably some practical stuff.
Right. Yeah. Well, again, with Shaun of the Dead, both of those probably like a lot of practical going on too. But, yeah. It seems like everything. Like I don't remember seeing in any of these anything. Because especially nowadays, because it seems like a lot of new stuff is like probably because all the VFX artists are overworked.
Yeah, everything's rushed. Yeah.
Yes, you can I can really tell nowadays. Like, even though obviously the process I'm sure has gotten, I don't know, easier or quicker to do. Certain things. But yeah, I didn't notice anything in any of his movies so far. Right. That like looked bad.
No.
And again, like you said, there's always stuff in there. So like if you can't tell, then that's obviously done really well.
Yeah, that's the goal, right?
That's the goal, yeah.
Yeah. The scene right after that, right?
So now we're going to third scene.
Well, then they're all up at the first, like in the war room, I guess you would call it, whatever.
And that scene's great too. So like that's why I was saying the start of this movie is so good because that scene is funny too, which I don't know. Yeah, you go ahead. Yeah, what do you want to mention about that scene in particular?
Well, I was thinking that it wasn't that one. It was the next time they're there, because when the first time he's there with Jamie Foxx.
Okay.
Because he's the one that He's the one that steals the sunglasses.
Yeah.
And then he pulls out another pair. And then he
pulls out a third pair too. Yes, I think. Yeah.
Because then they do so, and then he pulls out a third pair. Yep.
Yeah.
It's such a also just like an interesting to have your lead barely talk, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is also even just a which got me thinking, just because we talked about this I think in the TV podcast last week, but them making a live action Legend of Zelda, and Link never talks in the games.
True.
But you could do a movie. I mean, this is a perfect example. Like you can do a movie where just people around you kind of carry the story, and you don't have to talk.
I think that'd probably be the best way for them to do that, because no matter what, anyone's going to be weirded out about like Link talking.
For sure. Yeah. For sure. So of course, anyway, we get introduced to the team that was in the heist,
Mm-hmm.
Well, and of course, plus Kevin Spacey's character.
Mm-hmm. We were just talking about Kevin Spacey last.
Yeah, well, because we were talking we knew he was going to be in
coming
this,
up, yeah,
and just so much. Yeah, I always love him.
Yeah, and we were talking about how no matter what has happened with him, there's a reason why he's one of the best actors.
Yeah, it's
and this obviously isn't like his best performance,
no,
but he's still great.
Yeah.
I mean, he's done a lot.
No, what I was going to say is like, I really, it's like why people get so hung up on. Everyone is not perfect.
Yes.
Right. So like, and there's extreme things that people can do that, you're just like, okay, but for the most part, you made some mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes, but you can separate that from the art, right? The art.
Yep. We do it all the time in music.
Yeah. So I don't know why I think people put these actors and actresses, whatever, up on pedestals and think they're like above everyone else for some reason, and aren't human, and then they do something where they're human, and then people get mad, and it's like, and then they're like, I can't watch that movie, and
I know,
and
it's annoying. No, I know, and you nailed it, because that's literally exactly what I was going to say, is because people put actors on a pedestal, so they think of them as like gods. So if they ever do anything, then they're like,
which, I mean,
it's like they can't ever look at them the same, and then
which is hard then for them as people, because they are people.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, that was a little side tangent.
No, you're 100% right.
But
it bothers me in the music realm too, because the biggest thing, and I mean, there's a ton even now, but like the biggest one people always go to is Michael Jackson. And I hear people to this day be like, I just can't listen to his music anymore. I'm like, really? He was literally deemed the king of pop. Like, he was incredible. And even before that, he was incredible in the Jackson 5 too, when he was so young. And it's like, why can't you just listen to it?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I know. That's a big conversation now, separating the art from the artist, but I don't understand why you can't do that. I don't know why it's such a big conversation.
I don't know. Why people get so hung up.
Yeah.
I don't know. And then the other thing I was going to say about that opening, the one take.
Yeah.
All the little, like, the way almost like a musical, like the classic musical, like the way, like, his movements are like timed with the music, right? Almost like where
he does like the trumpet behind.
But they sprinkle that throughout the movie. Like, there's other times that happens where he's listening to music, and like when he went at the junkyard and he junks the car, and then he's like leaving and he kind of kicks the can, like, and it's like right with the music, and it's just fun little like like the extra level of detail and polish to like take that, all the way through that idea through the whole movie.
They definitely do it the whole movie, because even with the songs too, even with the lyrics, right? You notice that?
Right.
Yeah. Even at the very end, like the one I noticed this time was when they're all going into the diner, the whole crew at the end, and the song's playing, and you're seeing, what is her character's name? It's Lily Collins, but what's her
Deborah.
That's right. Yeah, because they talk about that. Yeah, I forgot. That's a great
songs,
scene. Yeah,
there's their songs about that.
She's like, every song's about you, baby. Yeah. No, but yeah. So that song is like, so they had the camera on her. She's looking at them, and the song lyrics are going, "Something's wrong with my," it's when something's wrong with my baby.
Yeah.
So like that kind of stuff is great. Like how they put that in there, lyric wise, with it too. Yeah.
Yeah, and all his mixtapes and iPods and.
Dude, that's so cool how he did that with and I like how they show him actually the process of making it. Yeah.
And then but then it's funny when they finally like bust him, and then they think he's like been recording them for like
he's like, no, I really do this. And they're like,
they played the song, and it's like him saying, it was Kevin Spacey's character, like what was he slow?
Yeah, was he slow?
Was he slow?
It was a perfect remix, that he did. The one I saw, because I was looking at all the tapes to see like the names, because obviously the one they point out his mom that they want to center on.
Different color, yeah.
But the one I saw this time that I thought was funny was Mozart in a go-kart. I'm like, I want to hear that. That sounds great.
Yeah.
I just imagine Mozart music to Mario Kart.
Yeah.
Or like that kind of style.
Yeah.
Which would be awesome.
Any other favorite scenes? We'll say one. I didn't really care for, and I had forgotten, because it's been a while since I watched this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I had forgotten the way it ends, and then and so it was like, it kind of was like because like, I mean, yeah, he okay, but it's like they. I guess the director and writer, I guess he wanted to not glorify this too much and kind of like feel like, there are consequences. You can't just be running all the time. But at the same time, as a viewer, and you just want to give them away, and you want them to get away and like right off in the sunset, because you like, deep down, they're the two good people in this whole situation. Everyone else, they're real crooks. Mm-hmm. Even though he did stuff he shouldn't be doing, deep down he was kind of forced into it and kind of really didn't have much of a choice.
Yeah, and they have all the people on the stand talking about like how like actually he was pretty nice,
Yeah,
and all that,
which gets him down to like 5 year or 20.
It's 25, but then they said 5 year
parole, and of course he assumes he gets out after this 5 years. And
I was thinking about, I'm like, if he's in there all 25, he's like 50 when he comes out.
She's gonna wait for him.
Yeah. But see, no, to your point with that, with the ending, it's kind of either way they ended it is kind of like you talk about them doing like a lot of like classic movie type tropes. Is the way they ended it is also kind of like a classic movie, like, you know, guy goes to prison and the girl's like, oh, I'll wait for you to come out, you know. So that's still like a classic movie type of thing, you know. But then the other way of ending it is like them riding off in the sunset. So, you know, that's another kind of classic movie type of thing. So either way, I feel like he's kind of going for that feel, like you mentioned, throughout the whole movie.
Yeah.
Or even like the, you know, when they show it, and I think they do it in black and white and color, right? Or, well, you know, they're in like the 50s car, right?
They do it in black and white, I think.
Then color at the
first
end, right?
time, and then at the end when he gets out, it's in black and white and transitions to color.
Right. Yeah.
But the other two times they do it, it's in black and white.
Yeah.
It's like him daydreaming, and then like the end, the daydream comes real.
Yeah. Becomes color. Yeah.
Which that ride's sweet that she has.
Oh yeah. But, definitely.
But yeah, but I don't know. There's something about like just wanting to have like the straightforward happy ending or something. I just was like, just want to see him ride away, and then when they got trapped on the bridge, and I was like, oh, that's right. This is how. You know, like,
yeah.
I mean, they have their happy ending, I guess, after 5 years in prison.
Yeah.
But, you know,
it's kind of tough. This kind of movie, and I'm sure he went through a lot of rewrites when he was writing this. Like, I mean, what is the best way to end this type of movie? You know, like, unless it just like ends abruptly, which I guess that could have been the case too. Like, you know, he could have done something like that, but then it might have not been as satisfying of a movie then.
Well, like, I guess if, instead of having them, he wakes up, she's driving, and then they just ride off in the sunset, and then you're just kind of like, and doing the way he did it just adds this few other scenes of. Now it does. The strength is like reinforces that those, because you said they have the people in the stands, so they're able to kind of like, hey, yeah, these moments happen, and they're sprinkled throughout. That you know, where he had opportunities anytime he could, he did the right thing. So it kind of reinforces that, which I don't think is terrible. But it just from a feeling standpoint, it was like, it just felt let down, because I was like, you wanted to just be like, they got away, they live happy ever after, and then it was like, you know, then there's like the breaks, you know, like, and then you're like, okay, you're going to prison,
yeah,
and then you're like, oh, but then he gets out, and then you know, then they have their moment. No,
you're right though. If they would have ended it on that scene of them driving away, and you know, they're listening to his mom singing that song, like, yeah, because it kind of looks like it's going to end there anyway.
Yeah, I think that
intentionally,
they intentionally try to make it feel like that's,
and that would have been fine to end it that way too. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. And maybe that was it. Maybe that was like something he wanted to do. Like maybe they were done, and he was like, no, we need to do a little more. Maybe that was a extra,
maybe,
you know, shoot or something that they wanted to do afterwards. Because he wouldn't have had to get everyone back, right? It was just them to, you know, and then like,
the extras, yeah.
So like, it's not like he would have to get all these other big actors back. Yeah. So,
so all the car scenes, a lot of the car scenes, they had to film on the weekends.
Really?
Yeah, because a lot of the areas they wanted to film it, I guess they couldn't shut those roads down during the week.
Oh, okay.
So they had to film on the weekends.
Huh. I mean, they are pretty main.
Some main roads, yeah.
That would take a long time then if you could only do weekends.
And then they, and he said he's had like John, not him, the Bernthal, yeah, John Bernthal. He had to fly back 9 times from LA to Atlanta because of like, you know, some reshoots, some because they were having to space those out over the weekend, so he would go away and come back. But a lot of the other people were around for the whole shoot, but because he was only for certain scenes, like he wasn't there the whole time.
But this is why John Bernthal is a pro, because he was still committed.
Well, that's the thing. Like he quoted him, he said, because he kept apologizing. I said Edgar Wright kept apologizing, saying, "So sorry, man. But you know, we need some more scenes, or you know, because they did do some reshoot, like probably like got into post, and well, looking at the dailies, because you put like rough stuff together. Ever since things go digital, like you put rough stuff together, and if they were shooting them on the weekends, then they had plenty of time for somebody to be throwing some stuff together, and then to be like, oh, we actually need more here or there. So then anyway, so he kept apologizing, like, dude, I'm sorry. And he's like, it's okay. If it was easy, everyone would do it.
Yeah.
So he, like you said, he was just a pro. Like, hey,
yeah,
to do it at the level that needs to be done to make it good,
make it right. Yeah,
you gotta sacrifice some. You gotta, do some stuff that's uncomfortable.
Yeah, and I actually have a note about that. I mean, it might just be just because he's one of my favorite actors, but like, I wish he was in this movie more. Like, John Bernthal's in like 2 scenes, I want to say. Like, he's in the opening scene.
Yeah.
He's in one of the, when they're all in their like, I don't know, a hideout, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. Maybe there might be a 3rd scene, but he's not in it much. It's really mostly just up top, and then he's gone.
Right, because he was only in the first heist.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But again, because they had to shoot those things every weekend. I guess that's why he had to come back 9 times, and then they figured they needed more stuff for that opening scene.
Yeah.
So then they had to come back so much.
Yeah.
But then I guess because the other people were all there for the whole time, because they had a lot of other scenes that they weren't leaving Atlanta and coming back. So I don't know. But yeah, thought that was interesting.
I'm gonna go back to the opening scene.
Yeah,
and I gotta see that because I don't know the name of the artist. Okay, there we go. Yeah, with the song, because this is a perfect song choice. Bell Bottoms by the John Spencer Blues Explosion. I didn't remember the name of the band, because I think it fits perfectly with the intro. Because the song's kind of sporadic, which is also, it fits well with what happens in the scene. But it made me appreciate the song more, because then I was teaching it recently. Well, not recently, it was probably about a year ago, with a student of mine, and the song's pretty tough anyway and kind of chaotic. Also, the recording's kind of like more rough, so trying to figure it all by ear, which is what I was doing. It took a long time, but it made me appreciate the song more, and there's a lot of really cool stuff going on in that song, and it fits very well with what's visually on the screen for that whole intro. It's great.
Well, along those lines, is the soundtrack and the music.
Well, the actual score, there's hardly any.
Right, because it's all soundtrack.
It's mostly all soundtrack, which is like, this is an amazing soundtrack.
Yeah, amazing soundtrack.
Yeah. Every time I watch this, I'm like, I always forget about a couple of them, and I'm like, of songs in this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dang, this is.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah. There's a lot of great stuff. Yeah. So like, yeah, that's most of the movie. I was trying to this time really focus on, all right, how much actual score is in this? Right. Very little. So I don't really have anything to say about that part. But obviously the big thing is the audio editing and sound design for all that, which I don't know if you want to get into that now, or I guess you usually do cinematography first, but I guess we can.
Yeah, you were just talking music, so yeah, we could jump around a little bit.
Because it's, it's obviously not the thing you see the most and hear the most that sticks out is the gunshots, right? Yeah. Syncing up with the songs.
Yes.
Or using the gunshots as a percussive element of the song. But there's a lot of other, just different sound effects and different things they do throughout the whole movie that go along with the song, which is cool. I actually heard a lot more of them this time, which is cool because I didn't see as many of them or hear as many when I first watched this movie. So
yeah, I noticed some more too. Again, I don't know, it's because of seeing it. The more you see stuff, you notice other things. But also, this time watching it, I had my headphones.
That's a big difference.
Was and just had the noise canceling on and just like really get immersed in the. And I did that intentionally because I knew, like the music, the sound of this movie is such a big part of the movie. And it didn't disappoint. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
Because one thing that was interesting is they actually move the stereo of the music based on
I noticed that
if baby has like only one ear or
Mm-hmm.
not ear, and then like it's real noticeable when you have your own headphones and watching it. It probably was real noticeable in the theater too, but
that's one thing I wish I did not see in theaters. It would have been awesome to see this in theaters.
Yeah.
Especially, which, did they, in 2017, was there Dolby Atmos in theaters?
probably some, just not
as much, I'd imagine.
not the ones close to us
Yeah.
that we have now.
Yeah.
They didn't have it.
Like,
so.
that would be awesome to see this movie in that
Yes,
type of sound.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, it was good soundtrack.
That's the thing is, that's what's tough about, like, because you're doing songs, not like the one take scene where they're basically taking apart the song, but like these other songs, they can't really do much with it to like maybe add or take away from. You could take away, but adding or stretching things in the song would be tougher to do, and so they have to line that up with everything going on in the scenes. Yes. I can't imagine how long that took.
Yeah, I guess if you're careful about it with the way it still doesn't make it easy, but just if you have the way you shoot, cut the scene so that you can like have the cuts be in between where your next one has to be, and you can kind of finesse the thing in the thing that needs to happen in the scene to the music. You can finesse it, because I mean, right. I do that sometimes, because there's when like a lot of the commercial work we do is not we use stock music, mm-hmm. right? And so one way to make it not feel that way is once you find something that kind of fits, you adjust your edit some to the music. So then it feels like the music was 100% intentional, and so that you're looking at those moments where in the music where things are shifting and changing or crescendoing or whatever, you know, and actually working your edit to kind of, and it's kind of an ebb and flow, right? Like you already have the edit rough, and then normally I do, it's the way I do it, like do the rough, and then you find music that's going to kind of have the beats that you need and hit the points that you need, but then you finesse it after the actual cuts and edits and or the thing in the scene that you want to happen. So like I kind of do that at a small scale a lot of times, and so it's not that it's easy, but but I think it's a little more doable than you might think, I guess is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah. Now if the one take is where then it becomes impossible if you didn't plan like they did and make it time to the music instead of like if you shot that and then tried to fix it in post, that would be impossible. But.
Yeah, and the other scenes where it's happening, to your point, is there's a lot of
action and a lot of things happening, and there's a lot of cuts.
Yeah, and there's a lot of cuts, so that's
so
that makes sense then. Yeah, for that.
Yeah, and I mean, in cinematography, I think we've touched on a lot of stuff around it, like and already talking about. So I think I just
Bill Pope again, like you said.
Yes, Bill Pope.
I know his name now since we've gone through 3.
Yeah, 3 of his movies, and then of course the Matrix and which then it's like, oh well, then this had such a confidence and polish to the style. And you can still see the style, Edgar Wright's style in there, of like some of the like the movements and the just where it feels a little different than what other directors would do. But I think it's gotten to the point where it has like a polish and a confidence to do it when it needs to be done, but not overdo it. Not, like, because again, we talked about in Hot Fuzz, like it felt like it was like everything was overdone, right? And it definitely dialed it back. And I think Scott Pilgrim was there too at some extent, like where it felt like knew when to do it, not to do it. But then of course the tone of that and the humor kind of that movie, lend itself to kind of do things differently. And this has, much more seriousness to it. And, so, but yeah, I think, all in all, like yeah, I mean, like great camera work, in general. Like, I mean, there's just like so many cool
there is
shots and just, edits, kind of a combination, which is all his stuff. Like, I think all his stuff is like, it's leaning a lot on knowing how he's going to cut it, right? And how he's going to create those fast cuts that he does, and shooting stuff for that, and the quick zooms and the things that they do. That's different than like what most people would do.
It seems like overall, like everything you're talking about, seems like he's just with his own specific style. He's like matured a lot.
Yeah.
In all of that. Yeah. Which is exciting to go into his final movie, because I've never seen it.
Correct.
Yeah. And I have no idea really much about it at all. So it'll be cool to see how that all looks.
Yeah. Well, sometimes how to put this, and I'm just saying this because I haven't seen that movie either.
Yeah.
Which is going to be interesting for us to talk about. It's something neither one of us have seen. But I just throwing this out there, but sometimes when you feel like you've mastered something, then you almost intentionally want to do something different.
Okay. Well, I mean, the genre is very different, I know, for this last one.
Yeah.
So at least in that way, but you're talking like in all encompassing though.
Well, even just the style, like,
okay.
You're just like, okay, I've done this a lot. I feel like I've reached like where it needs to be, this maturity of it, right? Like you were just using that word.
Mm-hmm.
And if this movie is that, then it's like sometimes you're like, okay, now I feel like I don't know. I mean, you probably feel this creative. Like sometimes you just have these like kind of ideas, right? And I think this movie was that idea. Like we saw threads of it in the other movies, and you have this idea, and you're like, and it finally gets out of your head. Like, and it's like he finally got, and he was able to do it, and then it was a success, and you're like, then it's like, then it's time to try a different idea, maybe.
Yes.
So I don't know if he did or not. I'm just kind of, because again, we haven't watched this movie.
Yeah.
But it's just, it'll be interesting to see if there's a shift that you can, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, you're trying something different. Mm-hmm. Doesn't mean it always works, but as a creative person, idea person, I feel the same. Like, it's like, I'll see something, inspire something, and I might try it a couple times, do it a couple different, and then feel like, and then you're like, okay, I think that worked really well. But then it's like, no, but now I want to do something else, because you're always wanting to challenge yourself, right? And when you kind of get to the point where you're like, no, I think let's say master is not the right word, but I feel like I've almost scratched the itch, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then it's like, and then you're on to the next itch. And, so
no, that makes sense. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just curious if that.
No, I resonate with that for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
You want to look up some trivia first?
Well, I wanted to. Yeah, I can do that. I wanted to mention about just talking about the cast a little bit more.
Sure.
Just how great everyone is in this. I mean, we already talked about Kevin Spacey some, but John Hamm is very good in this.
Yeah. He has such a...
And it's a very different role for him, too.
Well, I was going to say, like, he's kind of almost playing, like, a bad guy. But it's like...
but it's different than, like, when he gets, like, angry as Don Draper.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
sure.
it's yeah. Because I don't think he's played, like, a villain in anything else that I know of, right?
I don't know. I feel like he kind of has, I mean, even I was just thinking, like, his character in the morning show, that he was just at, like, the most recent season. Mm-hmm. Like, that's different too. Like,
yeah,
and
it is
good. But and then I know he's done comedy.
He's great at comedy too. So, yeah,
like,
he's got range.
Pretty well-rounded actor, and definitely has range. And since you're bringing it up, of course, John Bernthal
Yeah.
He's
That's my
great.
dude.
He's
Yeah.
great. And Jamie Foxx,
He was great too. Yeah.
dude, him playing like you are nervous out the whole time he's on.
Yes.
And you should be, but like he does such a great job of playing that type of guy that you like don't know what he's gonna do next.
Oh, for sure.
You know, he's just like a little unhinged.
Yep.
And then yeah.
So at first, because I mean I recognize the name Lily James, but
Yes.
I watching this time I was like, oh yeah, she's playing Pam and Tommy.
Oh, she did.
Yeah, that's her. But it's very different. Like obviously she looks very different than that, but
I forgot that.
that's her. But
well,
I don't, and I know
like
she's
she was
been in
in
some other stuff too.
Yeah, she was in other stuff, and I didn't actually look it up because that's funny. I was thinking she looked familiar, but I don't think it was because definitely the first time I saw this, that show was not out, and I didn't watch that show.
Okay.
First time I saw this movie. So, and I think she was she in the live action Cinderella? Was she the Cinderella in live action?
I mean, probably that makes sense. Let's see. Yep, there you go. First thing she's known for, Cinderella 2015, and Mamma Mia.
I've never seen Mom.
Me neither. But that's I wanted to mention two more. Isa Gonzalez. She's not even been in much because I was looking her up and like, has she? But not really.
Right.
But she was great. Although no, she's in Godzilla, which we'll be talking about Godzilla in a little bit actually.
Yes.
Hobbs and Shaw. Okay, but she's not in a lot. I mean,
which I don't know why. Why would you not cast her?
Yeah, she's great. Pretty easy on the eyes too.
Yes, she is.
The whole time Claudia and I watching, I'm like, she's like, you don't have to say anything. She's like, I understand. I'm like, yeah, I know. She's like, you have a type. I said, yeah.
So so along those lines, like the Deborah character, like, and this is nothing like, Lily James, she's an attractive woman, like, but there's something with her mouth. Something that was weird, like that, like kind of was just always like seemed. I don't know. There was something she was doing with her mouth, and because when they would have like the close up, there was just something like the way her mouth moved that just like seemed weird to me. That kind of like, I don't want to say it turned me off, but like it was just like I was like,
does she do that in other things, or was it only this?
So I think it was something she was trying to do to maybe put like a southern accent and maybe. Whatever, and her mouth just like. I don't know. There was just something weird there. That kinda, it wasn't like one time. It was like a couple times throughout the movie that I was just like, that just something seems off there.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, everyone though, like, we didn't really talk about Ansel Elgort, but he's great too in this.
Yes.
At what he does, especially when he does like those, like when he's listening to music and Kevin Spacey's like, hey, did you get all that? And then he just goes off. Like that kind of stuff's great. The other person I want to mention is she's credited as baby's mom, Sky Ferreira, because I know her because she's a pop star. Like she's done a lot of music. She does some. I want to say her first album is what I listen to the most, and I liked that a lot. So, and it is her because I was like at the end, I'm like, okay, so is this going to be her singing the song at the end? And it is her because I looked on there's a version of it with her singing on the soundtrack, which is cool. But
that's cool.
Yeah, she's a good singer.
Well, I didn't know. I didn't know.
But
her.
she's been in a couple things now. She acting wise, she was just in that movie I was mentioning on Screen Time a while back, Reptile, that was on Netflix.
Okay,
that you should check out. It's actually really good. Like, kind of reminded me of Fincher-esque movie, but it's a new director. But yeah, she's in that too. So I don't know if she's acting more now, but yeah. And then I just have one more thing. Just a side note is, because babies, Kevin Spacey says it in a different way. A lot of people say this word in different ways. I call it tinnitus. He says it tinnitus, I think, which is weird. I don't know why people say it. I think it's tinnitus. That's how I've always heard it.
Okay.
But they do a lot, they do a lot with that in the movie. And he explains why or how it happened and why he always has music going. And I relate to him because I also have tinnitus. Not nearly as bad as him, but I have it. So I hate though when I hear it in movies though, because it just like amplifies it for me. Like, you know, when that high pitched,
Do you have
comes
it
in.
from when just being in bands?
Yeah, and because I remember you and Aaron got me custom earplugs, and I would use them. Well, once you got them for me, I used them all the time. But the problem was I didn't use any
Before that.
all the times before that,
Yeah.
and it caused a lot of damage. So yeah. So unfortunately, but yeah, so it's not.
But it could have been worse, probably.
Could have been way worse for sure. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's not noticeable, and they explain it perfectly. Like, so if you're sitting somewhere and it's dead quiet, that's when it'll start actually, So you know how they have though? I was talking to Claudia about this. If they have those rooms that you can go in that are completely dead, where some people like freak out in, that would be where like it would probably come like really prominent. Yeah, which probably would be. That would suck. I haven't been in a room like that, but so that probably wouldn't be great.
Yeah. yeah. Some people can't handle that stuff.
Yeah.
But like, it would be, it would amplify it probably. Cause
Yeah,
it'd be
it
real
would. Yeah, the quieter, the more it comes out. And it's crazy that Claudia was saying with eye stuff is the same way. It's like there's no cure for that kind of stuff yet. Like anything to do with the eyes and the ears, with that kind of damage. Which I'm like, man, come on, it's 2023.
Yeah.
We should be coming up with something.
Grow one on the back of a pig.
There you go.
Get a new new eyeball or a new eardrum.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, you want me to do trivia?
Yeah, well, little trivia.
I'm not used to this.
Yeah, we're missing our other co-host.
I know she does on Film Banter too. I'm not. Hold on, I just had it up.
And then while you're doing that, I'll just overall theme and message. I think like we kind of alluded to with the way they ended it. I think like it's kind of like eventually, even if you think you're getting away with it, eventually it catch up to you, like doing things.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the.
Oh, definitely.
But yeah.
Also, like you said, what he was doing with the movie, basically saying like it's not, he's not condoning,
right?
And that's why he kind of put that in, I guess, at the ending.
Well, just the way it ends, it kind of like helps, like be like, hey, even though this looks really cool.
Yeah, it's like, do you really want this life? No, you don't.
No.
It might look like the life that you want, but let's see. I don't know. Let's see if there's anything good in here. Oh, this first one's what you already mentioned about watching it with headphones on and how it changes with which, speaking of that, they do such a good job with that in The Killer, which is Fincher's new movie.
Oh, did you watch it already?
Mm-hmm. Not all of it yet. We started it. I hadn't finished it yet, but they do that with sound, and he has headphones in. They do that a lot in that movie too. Let's see. Director Edgar Wright once parked his car in a parking garage, only to realize by complete coincidence the car next to him had a stylized baby on board sign with babies Ansel Elgort face taken from the movie poster. Wright left a note on the car's windshield that read, "From the director of Baby Driver, I approve." Complete with autograph. Nice.
That's crazy. That's awesome.
That's good. This one's great because this is actually one of I think the funniest parts in the movie. Because speaking of the humor, because there's not much in it, but when they do it, you could tell it's not as much, but it's a little sprinkle of Edgar Wright humor still in there. But this is the funniest part: the Mike Myers mask.
Oh, yes, I forget.
So this next trivia thing's about that. The Mike Myers masks actually were supposed to be the masks of Michael Myers from the Halloween series, but the producers were unable to obtain the legal permission. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Edgar Wright then reached out to the comedian Mike Myers about using masks of his likeness instead, who thought the scene was funny and gave his blessing. This is ironic because the original Michael Myers masks were also masks obtained without getting the proper permission. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, John Carpenter bought a William Shatner / Captain Kirk mask from a Halloween store and painted it white to give it a creepy look. That is true. That's how they made the original. Yeah.
But yeah, that was a funny scene.
That was probably one of the funniest parts. Yeah.
That was what that scene's also really because of that, it messes up the
whole heist.
He messes up the music,
his timing,
and then he's like, "Oh, I gotta start the song over."
Yeah,
and they're like, "What?"
Yeah. But they don't really give him much crap about it because they understand he has such a very precise agenda in the way he goes about things. Yeah. I don't know. I haven't read these. I'm just going off because I don't know if any of these other ones are going to be like
anything good.
Yeah. Let's see. The studio pressured Edgar Wright to cut the foot chase scene because the movie was starting to go over budget. Wright deferred a portion of his directing fee to ensure the scene was completed.
True artist.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, no, it's got to be.
Speaking of the budget, like, because everyone else, I'm sure, got decent pay, but like, how much did Kevin Spacey? You know, because I feel like out of them all, like, he's the biggest, right?
Yeah,
I imagine he would probably ask for the most, right?
Possibly, but he also had the least. I mean, other than the scene at the end where he's got to shoot you guys, the rest of it, he's just in that.
That's true. Yeah.
In that, the war room, I guess I call it, like, or they do the heist, and so, I mean, you could have shot those in one day, like all the different, all the different ones with them in that room.
Oh, we didn't mention this. I don't know if they ever said his name, but the deaf guy he lives with, that whole plot was great. And what, at the end where he does the recorded message for him.
And leaves him at
that was good.
The home, nursing home. Retirement home, whatever.
Yeah, retirement home. Here's something about the DP. Bill Pope called the movie a postmodern musical, stating that there's not singing and dancing in the street, but the world acts to music. That's cool.
That's a cool way to put it, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's about it.
That's right, yeah.
This is cool. The song "Easy" by the Commodores was requested for the movie by Ansel Elgort after Edgar Wright asked him if there were any songs he knew by heart. So that was his go-to for it. Nice. That was a great choice.
Nice. Yeah. Well, any last words on?
Any last words? No. If you listen to this whole pod and have not seen this movie, you should watch. You should still watch this movie anyway.
Yeah. It's so good visually. That it's a treat.
Yeah.
Regardless if you even listen to us talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so then next week we're going to cover his final movie. For now, not his final movie. For now, I'm sure he's going to do another movie at some point. Last Night in Soho.
This is what year?
2021.
Okay. I haven't heard anything about like if he's even started on anything else, but I imagine he probably. Oh yeah, do they have the upcoming?
If they
usually do like a
if there's stuff in.
It's usually like right above filmography. They'll do like or if you go into filmography, you can see upcoming. Does it say?
It says upcoming projects 8.
Oh, that's is that producer though or
development? The Night Stalker, Stage 13, Grasshopper Jungle, Baby Driver 2.
No, come on.
In production, The Chain and The Running Man.
The Running Man, like a remake of The Running Man?
I don't know.
Are they really doing Baby Driver 2? I had no idea about that.
It says sci-fi for The Running Man.
Well, that would be a remake.
The futuristic United States of 2025 when the world has become a dystopia. So maybe.
Yeah, that sounds like The Running Man, yeah. Wow, all right. I mean, whatever he does, again, like he's got the clout at this point. It's like
right. For sure.
We're all going to check out what he does next regardless.
Okay. Well, I think with that,
we'll
end it. Thank you guys for listening and watching, and we appreciate all the support and all the listeners out there and YouTubers watching. If you aren't subscribed, please do, and on YouTube, and and comment, and if you are listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please give us a review. We'd appreciate it. 5 stars for sure. And please email us. Send us email. I'd love to start reading some emails up on the front end. So email us at screentime or feedback@screentimepod.com. And just, even if you just want to say hi and say you like the show, it's fun. And if you want to follow any of us on Instagram, I'm at JYoungBar.
And I'm at Jared Youngbar.
All right. And we'll catch you guys next week.